mountain was on fire. I stepped on the gas pedal of the pickup, racing toward the compound. The only thing I could think about was getting to Yafa. Dawid, Arturo, and Simon rode in the truck bed, their guns drawn as they took out as many of the enemy as they could. Griot rode up front with me. Two more of our pickups raced on the side of us, carrying Akeem, who also fired upon the general soldiers. The sound of gunfire and explosives could be heard all around us. The smell of sulfur filled the air. The general had sent an enormous army this time. Some were on foot, some were in military vehicles. Above head, two helicopters circled the compound, shining their bright lights down. The sound of a jet filled the air before another explosion rocked the ground. They were dropping bombs on the compound. The battle yesterday had been very minute compared to what was happening now. Damn him! I yelled, hitting the steering wheel. I was going to kill that bastard. Coming out of the trees up ahead of us was a truck full of the general soldiers, dressed in all black. When they saw us, they began to fire on us. Hold on, I yelled to the Akeem in the truck bed as I floored the gas pedal, ramming the side of the military vehicle. Right then, Dawid shot out its rear tires, sending the truck and its opponents flipping over in a deadly spiral. A big oak tree stopped the momentum. The truck hit so hard the body of it wrapped around the tree. The smoke was so thick, it was hard to see too far in front of us. But just up ahead, it looked as if the gate was gone and two big semi-trucks was now in its place. I could see the Akeem firing around it as they fought off the approaching army. There were bodies everywhere, mostly the generals, but some of them were ours. Dawid's voice boomed over the gunfire as he yelled out instructions. I brought the truck to a skidding halt in the back of the semis where it was a little protection. The men jumped out before I even finished moving. After throwing the truck in park, I followed. Gabriel, you and Caleb get to those guns you have mounted on your campers and take down those helicopters. Stay in formation. We are one unit, remember that. Something was wrong with Caleb. He was looking around, no doubt, for his family. Dawid grabbed his shoulders, getting his attention. We need to stop them. He pointed up towards the helicopters. Or else we're all dead. Caleb nodded and took off after. No! Maggie's cry could be heard across the yard. Mark Thomas was pulling her away from the body of her grandfather. It looked as if he had been down by the shrapnel for one of the explosions. Dawid, I'm going to find Yafa, I yelled. Just then, men dressed in all black began to land from the sky. Dawid grabbed one before his feet could even touch the ground, snapping his neck. Arturo and Simon began to shoot down the others, while Griot used his staff to take out more. Will that shelter hold up? Dawid asked, pointing towards the area where it looked as if Shlomo and Moses was trying to hide the women and the children. I shook my head. It was a small fallout shelter that Father had made for himself, just in case something like this was to ever happen. Really, it was just a small space that he had cut off the mountain. For a couple people, maybe, but it was hundreds of women and children. There was no way it would hold them. No, it won't, but there's an underground passage that leads out not too far from the Richmond mansion. Dawid nodded his head. Find Yafa and get these women and children into that passage. I will meet you at the mansion. I went to run towards the area where I could see most of the women and children being taken, but Dawid stopped me. It's not good that we split up. He paused for a moment. I saw him battle within himself as the battle took place around us. Baby, be careful. The look in his eyes said so much. I squeezed his hand. I love you, I told him, before turning and sprinting across the yard. One of the soldiers that landed from the sky shot something at me from a strange-looking gun. I hit the ground and rolled left, dodging whatever it was before drawing my 9, shooting the soldier underneath the eye. He fell dead to the ground. I was back on my feet running. Where is Yafa? I yelled to Shlomo, who was calling out orders to his men. All around us, the general's men were dropping to the ground, spasming violently. Shlomo. Hallelujah. This is why Dawid had put him over making sure the women and the children stayed safe. He was the best man for the job. Is it enough room? Can we get these people in there? He asked, pointing to the fallout shelter. No, I yelled over the sound of a loud explosion. I looked up just in time to see one of the helicopters that was now a ball of flames reel towards the earth to crash somewhere in the woods. You have to get them in the passage. I pointed towards what looked like a big water barrel. There's a passage underneath. Get everybody in there. It lets out by the Richmond mansion. They should be safe there for a little while. He nodded before he ran towards the barrel, yelling for his men to help him move it. Stormy and Monica ran to me with tears in their eyes. I can't find Eve, Monica cried, clutching her infant son that was wrapped in a blanket in her arms. Yasmin followed behind them. There were tears in her big purple eyes as well. I can't find the twins. Luke, she yelled, looking around in the chaos. Something big fell out the sky behind her and began to convulse on the ground. We all turned to stare wide-eyed at what looked to be some kind of winged man creature. I've seen this before, Stormy said, backing away from the thing that was now foaming at the mouth. Ladies, I need you to move away from the demon and come this way, Shlomo yelled, gesturing for them to come to him. They already had the stream of women and children poured into the passage. The older man that Dawid called Big Ak, Moses, and a few of the other Akim walked in before them. Where is Yafa? I asked Storm. She was with Eve and Tashana. I think the twins are with them as well. Dear Yah, where's my child? Monica cried, looking around. She was barely holding on to her little boy. Monica was losing it. Kotis, listen to me. You three, help get these people in the passage. I will find our kids. Although it hurt, I pulled Yasmin over to them. She needed something else to focus on to take her mind off her lost children and her warring husband. Her wandering around wringing her hands was not going to help the situation any. Please, I told them, getting all three of their attention. We will be right behind you guys. Shlomo and Stormy's sons stood next to Storm, and they began to pull their mom towards their dad. Go, y'all, go, I cried, giving them one last push before I took off towards the area where the teens had taken to hanging out. Quickly, I made my way across the field. I couldn't let my mind wander too much about what had just fallen out the sky. Shlomo had called it a demon, but it looked like some kind of, dragon man or something like that. Another explosion shook the ground. Moments later, the second helicopter crashed into the north side of the gate. I sprinted around the corner of the storage building, right as three of the general's men were landing on the ground. I pulled out my 9 and I dropped all three without ever slowing down. All headshots. I had to preserve my bullets, so each one needed to count. I prayed that the Akim was using their bullets wisely as well. Ammo was not something we had of abundance. D! My belle yelled from where she sat huddled over a body next to one of the greenhouses. D, help me, please. I ran to her and I came up short when I saw the blood. My belle, are you okay? I cried, trying to see who she was holding and determine whether or not the blood was hers. They killed her, D. They killed my baby. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. I knelt on the ground next to her. Oh, dear Yah. It was Cheyenne. Something had taken a bite out of her neck. Right then, a loud screech came from above us. I looked up just as one of those winged creatures swooped down towards us. Aiming, I shot at his head with both of my guns. What is it? My belle screamed. I had no time to answer her, because my bullets did nothing to stop it. Something threw a big rock, hitting it upside the head with enough force that the rock embedded in his head. Luke. Standing behind him was Tashana, who held Yafa in her arms. Hallelujah. Dynasty, who was helping Eve, who limped pretty bad. It looked as if she could not stand on her right foot at all. Luke picked up another rock, or more like a boulder, and sent it sailing in the air. This one took the giant birdman dragon thing down. Gracious, what in the world have the general been up to? Luke, help me, I said, lifting my belle up off the ground. Cheyenne, she cried, reaching for the body of her granddaughter. My belle, listen to me, I said, raising her head so that she couldn't look down at the gory scene. We have to go now. There will be time to mourn our loss, but it's not now. We have to go. Luke lifted her off her feet and into his arms. Yafa saw me and began to cry, reaching for me. I took her out of Tashana's arms. Instantly, she buried her head in my neck. I could feel her little heart beating fast against my chest. Relief washed through me like a tidal wave. I had her. Now, all I had to do was keep her safe. "Follow me," I yelled to the kids as we made our way back around the storage building. Dawid and the other Akeem was now engaged in a full-out battle with the winged creatures and the men in black. There was no way we would make it through there safely, which meant the passageway was out. We would have to walk through the woods to the mansion. "Dawid, I have Yafa, Luke, Eve, Dynasty, and Tashana, and Mabel. We are safe and we're headed to the mansion. You get there safe as well." The kids and Mabel looked at me as if I had gone mad. Dawid is all the way over there. He can't hear you," Tashana said, coming to stand next to me. Dawid was slashing like a mighty warrior he was with that sword. With one mighty blow, he sliced the head off one of them demons before turning to give me a thumbs up. But right then, one of those things grabbed him from the back, snatching him off the ground. With a roaring yell, he brought his sword back over his head and embedded it in its guts before dropping his weight, slicing it open. As he landed back on the ground on his feet, the thing's innards landed behind him. I smiled, so proud of my man. "Oh yeah, he heard me. Let's roll out," I told him before taking off towards another hidden door that led out into the woods. "Put me down, young man. I can walk," Mabel told Luke as we stepped out into the trees. He eased her to her feet. "Are you sure?" I asked. She straightened up her clothes. "As you say, child. It will be time to grieve later. Let's just get these babies to safety." I smiled at her courage before leading the way through the trees. The battle was raging strong to the left of us, but it was dark enough for us to make it through the trees without being noticed. I prayed. I would have preferred to run, but Eve limping and Mabel, there was no way that was going to happen. "D, to the right!" Dynasty yelled. I turned to see a giant man charging towards us. Quickly, I handed Yafa to Mabel before taking off at a sprint toward the genetically altered man. Right at the last moment, I went down in the slide, taking his feet from under him. In the same motion, I turned my body, drawing my sword, and as his big body fell to the ground, I drove it into his back. "Behind you!" Mabel cried. I lay flat on the ground as another mammoth of a soldier dived at me, but something hit him hard. The sound of what must have been his face bone cracking filled the air. Luke had connected with his chin with an uppercut that I was more than positive had killed the man. "Go!" I cried, getting to my feet. As I ran past Mabel, I swooped up Yafa back into my arms. We hadn't made it far before one of those terrible-looking dragon men landed in front of us. The top half of him was a man, but where his arms should have been was two big black wings, and where his feet should have been was talons. "Dear Yah, what kind of abomination is that?" Mabel cried out. I went to hand Yafa over to her, wondering how in the world I was going to fight this thing. But before I could do anything, Dynasty ran out in front of it, waving her hands. "Hey, Birdman, over here!" It let out an ear-piercing screech before it swung one of its mighty wings at her. "Dynasty, no!" I handed Yafa to Mabel, and I went to stand in front of the twin with my sword raised. It let out another screech before it began to jerk its hair from side to side. Luke had climbed up in a tree and jumped on his back. "Run!" he yelled down at us as he began punching it in the head. I didn't want to leave him, but I had to get Mabel and the girls out of here. If anybody could handle that beast, Luke was the man for the job. Or shall I say boy. "Move it, ladies," I yelled, taking Yafa. "We have to go faster." Dynasty was helping a limping Eve, and Tashana was helping Mabel. And I know they were moving as fast as they could, but we needed to move faster. I went to Eve's other side. "Wrap your arm around my shoulder." "D, are you sure? We don't have time. Do it!" She wrapped her arm around my shoulder, and I bit down hard on my teeth to fade out the pain of it. We were almost there. I didn't want to lead any of the general's army to the mansion. "Here, D, I got her," Luke said, coming up behind us. He was covered in blood. Eve took her arms from around me and Dynasty as Luke swooped her up in his arms. We were able to move faster at this point. The further we got from the battle, the better I felt. Soon the gunshots and the screeches of those dragon men began to fade to background noise. "Look, there they are!" Tashana cried, pointing just up ahead of us, where the man that we called Big Ak and a few more warriors were pulling people out of the passage. "Mom," Dynasty called, spotting Yasmin pacing by the front gate. "Shh," I told her. We were not out of danger. What were they doing? They needed to be inside before someone spotted them. Yasmin looked up with relief in her face when she saw her children coming. "Get inside," I told them, trying to keep my voice lowered. "Please get inside." I handed Yafa to my bell. Go inside, y'all." I gestured for the women that were straggling at the gate, looking for their husbands, sons, fathers, and brothers to get inside. As I made my way to the hidden passage in the ground to see how many more were coming, right when I got there, Shlomo jumped out of the hole. "How many more?" I asked. "That's the last of them, but we have some injured warriors inside. We're gonna need some supplies." I nodded. "Come, there are supplies in the barn." As I walked back into the gates, I too looked back towards the battle, worried to death for Dawid and the other Akim. But when I turned around, there was a huge job in front of me. There were many injured and many grieving the loss of their loved ones. I had to stay busy. Dawid was the best warrior I had ever known. He would make it. I got the injured inside the mansion using the barn for overspill, and we set up a makeshift triage that my bell ran flawlessly. I helped her for a few before I went to check on Shlomo and the Akim manning the gate. "How's it going?" I asked, looking towards the compound. Before Shlomo could speak, Gabriel came running through the trees with Eugene laying over his shoulder. "He's been shot. He needs help." "Here, come this way," I called, leading him through the crowd of people into the triage. "What's happening at the compound?" I asked. "Yah has fought with us, sis. The enemy has been defeated." "Hallelujah." "And Dawid?" "Alive. They are burying the dead." "Gabe," Yasmin called when she spotted her husband from where she had been helping my bell tend to another gunshot wound. She ran across the vast living room with tears in her beautiful eyes and threw herself in his arms. It began raining down kisses on his face before he took her lips in a passionate kiss. I turned away, giving them some privacy to help Eugene get comfortable on the pallet that had just been vacated by my bell's last patient. "How you feeling, old man?" I asked as I slid a pillow underneath his head. He smiled up at me weakly. "Better than some," he admitted. I nodded before looking up at Gabe. "How many did we lose?" His face saddened. "When I left, the count was at 50. I nodded. "Dear Yah, we lost so many." "Try to rest. My bell is on her way." I spoke quietly to Eugene coming to my feet. I walked back outside the mansion. The mass yard was full of people, but I was worried because it wasn't protected like the compound. What was I talking about? The compound fell today. Those gates meant nothing when it was Yah's will for them to come down. It reminded me of a scripture I read in Zechariah chapter 2 verse 5 that said, "For I myself am to her, declares Yah, a wall of fire all around, and for esteem I am in her midst." It was foolish of me to ever put such faith in those walls. Look how quickly they fell, in a matter of minutes. I caught a flash of something in the trees to the west of the property. Squinting, I looked closer. Baxter, the bastard, stood by a tree watching me. That traitor. This was all his fault. I know it was him who led the general here. I began to walk his way. When the coward saw me coming, he dipped into the trees, no doubt ready to divulge our hiding spot. Oh, hell no, not today. I broke into a sprint and quickly covered the ground to the trees. I could see his mauve shirt as he ran on his stubby legs trying to get away from me. I ran behind him as I pulled out my 9 and shot at his foot. He came to a stop instantly, turning to face me with his hands up. Oh wow, his face. It was grotesque. He had half a face. "What do you think about your boyfriend's work?" he asked, indicating his missing jawbone. I nodded my head once, still pointing my gun at him. This time, he would not escape my bullet. "I think it's the perfect reward for a traitor." "Oh, so I'm the traitor, am I? I wasn't the one who killed the man that had raised them and turned them into the success story they are today." What in the world was this maniac talking about? "Raised me," I said between clenched lips. "He abused me. He turned me into a monster." "You know, Deborah, that has always been your problem. You're unappreciative." "But I hung in there. It was me who loved you from day one. You know Father wanted us to marry, and you betrayed me for the brown-haired coward. I have been longing to touch you forever, and instead you chose to be his whore and let him love what is mine. I could not help the laugh that bubbled up inside of me. You little sprite of a man, you could never handle me. He raised his hands, nodding his head. You may be right, but if I can't have you, then no one can. Something pricked me in my neck. I reached up and grabbed it, frowning as I looked down at the dead bug in my hand. Where its little eyes should have been was red lights that was blinking rapidly before dying out. What? I began, but my tongue felt thick in my mouth. I looked up at Baxter as the world began to spin. What is this? I mumbled, holding up the bug that obviously wasn't a bug. He laughed as he began to walk towards me. It's my turn now. It's my turn to taste. He didn't get another word out his mouth. A loud shot filled the air, and the other side of Baxter's face was blown off. I watched stunned as his body hit the ground. An African-American soldier dressed in all black walked out of the trees behind him. He tossed the shotgun he had just used to shoot Baxter to the ground. I tried to lift my weapon and fire, but my limbs wouldn't move. I had been poisoned. I felt myself beginning to lose consciousness. The man lifted his wrist to his mouth and began to talk into his watch. I have your package, little brother. I hope you have mine, I heard him say before everything went black. When next I opened my eyes, a sharp pain shot through my head, and it got worse the wider I opened them. I felt like I had been drinking for a week straight. I blinked, trying to get my bearings about me. I was lying on a hard, cold stone floor, but my head was being cushioned in someone's lap. I looked up, blinking, at a brown-haired, beautiful older woman. Her eyes were swollen as if she had been crying. There was a cut on her bottom lip that too looked swollen. She looked familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had seen her before. She rubbed my head and I stilled myself, waiting to feel the pain from her touch. But there was none. Who are you? I asked. My voice croaked because my throat was so very dry. Tears came to her eyes again, and she reached up with her other hand and wiped them away. Butter, she whispered. Butter baby LaRue.